hear you properly?
Oh, okay. Yes, we see you now. Can you hear me now?
Oh, yes, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Can you hear me? Okay. Okay, great. Hello, doctor. Welcome. A warm welcome to you. Thank you for being here. And thank you to all our participants for sticking around. It's an honor to have you, Dr. Kedar, who is an Ayurvedic doctor and a music therapist. He has been practicing since 2007, and he specializes in chronic diseases at 4 of his clinics in Gujarat, India. The amalgamation of ancient Ayurvedic wisdom with modern scientific approach is his point of interest. And for him, yoga is a process to be with himself. Once again, thank you so much for being here, Dr. Kedar. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing very well. Thank you so much. So to start, can you please tell us a bit about your journey, how you came to be an Ayurvedic doctor, and more interestingly, combine music therapy with it?
Yeah, sure, sure. So it's all about destiny actually, because my father is also an Ayurvedic doctor, and so growing in that Ayurvedic fields and Ayurvedic environment only. When I was in 10+2, I decided that no matter what, I'll go to Ayurveda. Unfortunately, I didn't get an admission to the college in which I wanted to. So I went to Bangalore. I had to go to Bangalore, but fortunately, again, destiny, some of the students couldn't pay the fees on time. So their admissions were cancelled and I got the chance. So I have done my graduation in the most prestigious institute as far as the Ayurvedic field is concerned. That is the Jamnagar Ayurveda University, Gujarat Ayurveda University in Jamnagar. And there only I happened to meet to one of my teachers, Dr. Bhatt sir, who did his master's in music therapy at that time. And certainly I was I am a born artist, I would say, that properly. I think that through art only we happen to meet together. So
Correct.
yeah, so I learned from him initially. He guided me as far as the music therapy is concerned. And then in my yoga and naturopathy masters, I did a research paper on music therapy. And I got a very good result in particular raga, which is called Vrindavani Sarang Raga. It is a raga on stress-induced hyperacidity. And then I presented that paper to many of the international conferences, and it was very well recognized also. Then in 2007, I completed my graduation, and the same year I started my clinic in Gujarat, Gandhinagar initially. And then by God's grace, it has expanded and expanded. And right now I'm practicing at 4 of the cities. I'm having 4 clinics. So this is it so far. So far, so
nice. Good. So far, so great. It was great meeting you, by the way. It was very happenstance, you know.
It is a destiny. What won't you say?
Totally, totally. So just for those of you who don't know, we met at a Gandhian event. It was commemorating 150 years birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi in Gujarat, and Kedar Bhai and his group happened to be playing at the Gandhi Memorial right next to the Gandhi Museum, and we just happened to listen to him, and we were like, wow, I've never heard anything like this before. Very unique music, by the way. And so it turns out that he is an Ayurvedic doctor. So this was way after meeting him that I found out. And then he happened to play at our wedding not too long ago. And it was a memorable show. For
yes,
sure.
Certainly, it was a memorable show.
So thank you again for being here and for your time. So you were mentioning about the raga, since we're on the topic of music. Can you please tell us a little bit more about the paper that you worked on and what the findings were?
Yeah, sure. So there is one raga For those who are not aware of what is raga, so I would just briefly explain. A raga is a tune, you would say, or a harmony, which consists a set of notes. Right, in music, you are having C, D, E, F, G, A, B. There is Sa, Re, Ga, Ma, Pa, Dha, Ni. And a certain raga contains certain notes. Certain raga omits certain notes. So that particular phrase, whenever you are improvising that particular phrase, it becomes a raga. Uh, Particularly for my project, I have selected a raga called Vrindavani Sarang. Vrindavani Sarang raga is a very pleasant, very beautiful, and very pleasant raga. And usually it is being listened to in the afternoon time. So, Zil, it is a very fascinating fact that in our Indian classical music theory, each and every raga has a particular time and season to listen to and to play. Now, it is a point to research that what could be the what could be the reason behind this. But definitely, one thing is very much clear that at that given particular point of time, whenever you are playing or whenever you are listening to that raga, it creates immense effect psychologically. So this particular Vrindavani Sarang raga that I have selected for the patients who were suffering from stress-induced hyperacidity. So the case was that my college was just nearby to the medical college, in which the MD and medical fraternity students were, learning. And we happen to interconnect with each and everyone, and they were good friends and colleagues. So when I did my research, what happened was that there was a due term running, so there were exams coming in just a couple of months. And usually what happens that in our studies, the exams comes after 1.5 years of 1.5 years of studies. There are no in between exams. It is directly the final exams only. So the pressure is like hell. I mean, either you are through or you are not through. It's just like that. So certainly each and everyone was running out of out of patience and with so much pressure. So certainly what happens that each and everyone were reading like 20 hours a day or 18 hours a day, ruining their regular lifestyle, with reading throughout the night with assignments to complete, with projects to complete. So most of them have developed hyperacidity due to that, because we also sometimes feel that whenever we are not properly psychologically fit, or we happen to wake up at night and with stress, then our digestive system easily gets disturbed. So this happened to all the students. And I think that they were the best subjects for me because it was stress induced and music directly affects to the stress part. So I just asked them that you just spare your 20-25 minutes after your lunch, come to my center, and I'm just working on a project. And they were happy to come. So there were almost around 30 of them who were my subjects, and then I happened to listen to them. They were there was a speaker, and I just played that particular piece. That piece was of Hariprasad Chaurasia ji, the great flute maestro. So that Vrindavani Sarang Raga piece was in flute. And what happened that, honestly speaking, I also didn't expect such excellent results. That it was a 21 days course, and after 21 days, almost 60-70% of them who were taking Rentec and pantoprazole group of medicines to get rid of their acidities and everything, they have stopped it. In fact, many of them have stopped it in between only, that they were feeling very good and they no more need to take those medicines. So they have stopped it altogether. Many of them were continuously listening even after the project has been completed, because they were finding it very soothing, calming, relaxing, effective. That in a way they were addicted to that, I would say. So then I presented this paper to many of the yoga and psychotherapy workshops and conferences. So in a nutshell, I got highly significant results with this particular piece of music. I wouldn't say that this raga affects on acidity, because raga is a very, very vast phenomenon.
Video on करी राम
Sorry,
double
just a second, I think.
Sorry, yeah, we're gonna mute someone here.
Yeah, no issues. Yeah, so yeah, so yes, so I would say that that particular piece of music was effective enough to get rid of the stress-induced hyperacidity. So this was the research product. Afterwards, I have started my music therapy clinic also in Ahmedabad. It is also a research center. So in that, we happen to research on various disorders, various conditions. So recently, we have done a research on sleep disorders, and it was an open source research. So we have put a Facebook research project that anyone who was willing to participate, who was suffering from insomnia or sleep problems, they they can be participating, and we will be sending them the music track, and after 15 days they happen to report to us. In that also we have got excellent result, and that track is available free of cost in our YouTube channel. So I'll mention it, so any one of us who is who wants it in any manner, then they can listen to it.
Yeah, that would be perfect. I think a lot of us, especially these days, we're suffering from a lot of different disorders, mentally especially, more than physically. Of the effects of quarantine are spread far and wide. So this was great, because I think music has a profound effect on our well-being, for sure. Like you mentioned, there has been a lot of research on that as well. But let's talk a little bit about how yoga and Ayurveda, how do they intersect?
Yoga and Ayurveda are like, two sides of a coin, I would say, because both go hand in hand, because the thing is that their motive is same. Yoga also ultimately, yoga also reaches you to a certain level in which you can get salvation, or you can be in a way supernatural within yourself, I would say. And Ayurveda also aims health for all. There is one a very, very important research also. It's not yet confirmed, but Charak, Maharshi Charak, who is the great ancient sage who wrote the Charak Samhita, that is our I would say Bible of Ayurveda, and Patanjali Rishi, who wrote the Yoga Sutras and who are the great forefather of the yoga tradition. Many believes that both were the same person, and he was such an enlightened soul that he wrote this wise, science, yogic science, as well as the Ayurveda science. So, look, yoga. What I personally believe, this is again quoting from your theme only, because it is not just limited to asanas or pranayamas, right? Look, Patanjali did describe yama, niyama, asana, pranayam, pratyahara, dharana, dhyan, and samadhi. There are 8 steps, 8-fold steps, which we call Ashtanga Yoga or Raj Yoga. So now that is the ideal most yoga, as per my opinion, because it has no shortcuts, and any shortcut is dangerous. So it is something which you can patiently, dedicatedly practice, and then eventually you can succeed to each and every pathfold. So in Ashtanga Yoga, Patanjali Rishi has clearly defined the set, targets or set guidelines, criteria, that you have to first follow yama. There are 5 yamas which you have to be, concentrated upon. Then comes niyama, asana, and pranayama. So asana and pranayama is for your physical and your mental health, which will help you to get into the higher planes. Then comes the Pratyahar, Dharana, Dhyana, and Samadhi, which is the Antaranga Yoga, we would say that, which is the yoga which needs to be evolved within ourselves. So outside, we are just a normal person. We are meeting and greeting with each and everyone, but within our body, it is continuously evolving. And ultimately, it reaches to a level of samadhi where I don't know what happens, but it must be enlightening. So this is the yoga's main prime motivation. And so the aim of that yoga is completeness, I would say. Like, you will be a complete person, physically, mentally, socially, spiritually, complete person. Whenever I'm discussing about the Ayurveda's first thing, the main thing, the definition of health according to Ayurveda is, I'll recite a Sanskrit sloka. Many of you might not be able to understand, but I'll again translate it. Maharshi Sushruta, who was equal to Charaka, and it is proudly be known as the first plastic surgeon of India, because he around 5,000 years ago, he has done various surgeries, and he has described the all methods. So he said the definition of health. So he said that samadosha, samagnischa, samadhatu, malakriya, prasanna, atma, indriya, manaha, swastha iti abhidhiyate. Samadosha. There are 3 doshas as per Ayurveda. We'll come to that later. Samadhatu. There are 7 dhatus in Ayurveda. We'll come to that also. But Sama Agni. There are Agni. Agni means fires. In our body, there is a digestive fire. In Bhagavad Gita also, Lord Krishna or Bhagwan Vishnu recites that out of all Agnis, I am the digestive fire. So digestive fire is something which is responsible to digest all the foods and then nourish entire body. So the doshas, the dhatus, the agnis, the malas. Malas are the waste part, right? So these 4 things which are related to our physical plane, combine these all 4 things, it constitutes our physical body. Samadosha, Samadhatu, Sama Agni, and Mala. So here the physical aspect has been completed. Then come Prasanna Atma, Prasanna Indriya, and Prasanna Mana. Prasanna Mana means happy mind, satisfied mind, which covers the psychological aspect. Prasanna Atma, Atma covers the spiritual aspect. And Prasanna Indriya, Indriya is our sense organs. There are 5 sense organs, we all know. Through our sense organ, we happen to socialize. Because through our eyes, we see, through our ear, we listen, through our tongue, we communicate. So we happen to socialize with each and everyone. So here the social health comes. So when you dissect this particular phrase, you will know that Sushruta or Ayurveda for that matter talks the total health. It's not just that only physical part is concerned or only mental part is concerned. So what is total health? WHO is also discussing about the same thing. That is not merely an absence of disease, but total well-being on physical, psychological, social, and spiritual plane. Remember, spiritual was not there initially. Then later on they have added because they had to. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been possible without any spiritual help. So so Ayurveda talks the same thing. Ayurveda, the only difference is that Ayurveda has told it around 5,000 years ago. That's all. So, so Ayurveda also talks about the total health. Yoga also talks about the total health. Yoga's meaning, the word yoga comes from yuj dhatu. Any derivation of that yoga is yujyate anena iti yoga, which unites is yoga. So yoga cannot divide. It is it unites. It's a bondage. Now, on a gross level, we can say that here we are around 50, 80, 100 people. We are united. It unites us. Or on a very subtle and metaphysical level, we can say that it unites our Atman with the Paramatman, or it unites our inner soul with the extreme soul. So, yoga is a unity. Similarly, Ayurveda believes in unity only, because Ayurveda also believes that each and every portion of the health is important and it cannot be neglected. So it goes hand in hand. Yoga and Ayurveda both are, mutually, you would say, as I mentioned, two sides of a coin. Another thing, there are some references in Ayurveda about yoga that in Dinacharya is a daily regime. In Ayurveda, there is an entire chapter of Dinacharya, daily regime, which suggests you to follow to achieve an optimum health, in which there is an importance of exercise, there is an importance of massage, there is an importance of steaming, there is an importance of psychological well-being. So these all things. So the motive is similar. Ayurveda also says about the optimum health, and yoga is also says about the optimum health. And health is just the first step, I would say. Then it may go beyond.
Wow, that was quite enlightening, to say the least. So your topic itself, going back to, you can know yourself with Ayurveda or with yoga. So what do you mean by that?
Yeah. So though it is a Socrates phrase, pardon me, but the thing is that Ayurveda is a very interesting and very deep science. It is not just the kadhas, and it is not just the herbal and stuff. It is there. It is important, but it is much more beyond that. So when I described the health definition, I came to two words that we were coming to later. First is dosha and dhatu. So I'll come to that. So my topic is know thyself through Ayurveda. What is that? Look, Ayurveda is a science which helps you to define yourself. Who are you actually? Physically, mentally, and psychologically, socially, everything. How can you assess that? I'll just briefly go through each and every parameters. Uh, Let me give you a brief example. Right now, we are passing through a pandemic. Many of the Indians would be very much knowing that government of India is aggressively campaigning about the Ayurveda and Ayurveda herbs and everything to take regularly to be immunized, to build more and more immunity. And they are prescribing some kadhas which have cloves and cinnamons and tulsi, basil, and stuffs. Now, what happens that many of my patients complains to me that we have taken that kadha, sir, but just after taking that kadha, we have started acidity, acid reflux, or burning micturition, burning in urine, or sole or palm is burning, or burning throughout the body, or red dots have appeared. So what is that? Then I happen to on a linear, very simple and linear terms. I talk to them that, look, this might have not been suited to you. I think that all these herbs are of hot potency, and it may have generated excessive heat inside your body, and that's why your body must have reacted in such a way. So let us do one thing. You use the jeera powder or the dhania powder as the antidote, or straight away stop taking it, and I'll just prescribe it according to your prakriti, your constitution. Now, what is your prakriti and what is your constitution defines yourself. Each and every person is different. Everyone is identical, right? And Ayurveda is not a paracetamol, like that suits to each and everyone, or that relieves each and everyone's fever. No, I might be having fever, Zeal might be having fever, or any of here anyone out here might be having fever, but the medicines might affect differently to each and everyone, considering their own constitution. So right now, I am putting some light on this particular topic, so that each and everyone can know that what their prakriti is, what their constitution is, and how to overcome if there are some flip sides of that, how to overcome, or what are the antidotes of that particular prakriti's negative sides. Each prakriti has its positives and negatives. So we'll discuss that also. So let's dive in straight away. So I have described that there are three doshas. One is Vata dosha, another is Pitta dosha, and third is the Kapha dosha. Ayurveda believes that these three doshas, these three entities, are governing the entire body and mind. Vata, that can also be termed as Vayu, Pitta, and Kapha. Right. Now, briefly, it is a very large phenomena, but it's a very vast phenomena. But briefly, I'll just describe what are all these three things. Vata is Vayu, I mean gas, you can say, or air, you can say. I'll come to the qualities later. Pitta is the heating part. Very grossly, I'm speaking. Heating energy of our body, that is the Pitta. And coolants, or the cold energy. When you are saying yin and yang, so coolant parts or cold energy is the Kapha, right? Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. Now, what is Vata? Now, Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, any of us, each and every one in this entire world is either of these three, either Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, but not purely Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. There is always a main dosha and then subsequent dosha. For example, if I speak to, if I consider myself, then I am a Vata Kapha person. Out of my assessment, I know that I am a Vata Kapha person. Why? Whenever I'll describe the things, you will also get to know that who are you, right? So we'll discuss the traits first of all. That what is Vata person, right? So Vata is air. Air is moving. So the first and foremost important symptoms of a Vata person is he is constantly moving. He's not sitting composed or calm. He is restless. Whenever he's sitting, either he tremors his legs, or he's constantly itching somewhere, or he's just he's just moving his limbs. He's not focused at particular site or particular conversation or something. So this is his first thing. Number two, he cannot decide what to do and what not to do. Like if given two choices that either you go this with this, or we are going to a restaurant, what would you prefer, Chinese or continental? Then again, he'll not come up immediately with that answer. He'll just think and think and think. Excessive thinking is pure Vata Prakriti's sign. Excessive thinking, constantly thinking behind the mind. Right. So he cannot sit peacefully or calmly in a place for a longer period of time. Like if you ask a Vata person to sit and read for a couple of hours, it's next to impossible for him. He'll either do anything, but he'll not sit peacefully. On a creative side, he's very on a positive side, he's very creative and emotional. So any artist, majority of the artists are Vata person. The reason behind is they are very responsive. They can easily cry and they can easily laugh. After hearing bad news or sad news or something, they can be easily, provocated, or they can very, they can at particular point of time, they can directly say that, no, I'm just leaving it everything and I'm going to Himalayas and I'm looking for my salvation. And then in the next day, they'll say that, no, I'm having a 5,000 rupees project. Let me finish this first and then I'll look for the salvation. So these are the Vata person. They are very, their mindset is very flickering, but they are very creative, because the Vata itself helps them to create things, thoughts. The thoughts are responsibilities of Vata. Thoughts and movements, these two things are contributed in our body by Vata. So whenever you are saying movement, it can be a movement of our limbs. I'm speaking to you, this is also a contribution to Vata. Your intestinal movement, whenever you are constipated, your Vata is disturbed. So you are taking a laxative, or you're taking asafoetida or anything, this relieves your Vata. As simple as that. So any movement, whenever you are suffering from hemiplegia or palsy, in which your any organ is not working properly, it is because of Vata. So in Ayurveda, we prescribe the medicines which helps to come up out of this situation by balancing that Vayu, balancing that Vata. So Vata person is very creative, and Vata person is very emotional. Emotional in a way that it can be manipulated easily. Vata person cannot think rationally, either very happy or very sad. Their mood swings are very, very common, right? So these are the Vata traits in a way. Look, there are some physical entities also. I'll not go in details as far as the physical traits are concerned, because it is easily available online, like your eyes color or your shoulders broadness or your body built up and everything. It is, and honestly it doesn't matter also, because I have practically seen many patients who are physically Vata person, but whenever you talk to them and whenever you happen to know them, you find that it is totally opposite to Vata. So those matters doesn't those things really don't matter for me. But if at all you want to explore, then you can anyhow you can search it online. So this is the Vata Prakriti. Now, if you are a Vata person, right, then there are flip side that you are very anxious because you think more, or another thing is you are always confused between what to do and what not to do. So your decision power is not very much strong. So in that case, what are the things which helps you to overcome this flip side, right? So first of all, it is very simple. First thing is meditation, right? Vata person needs to meditate. Why? Number one, he needs to create that state of mind in which he sit calm and composed manner. He sits at least for 20, 25, 30 minutes with his eyes closed and meditate. It will be a hell initially. It will, like, I think each and everyone must be, because as you are here for common interest, so each and everyone must have experienced meditation. And for me, it was initially very, very difficult, that whenever I started meditating, I happen to itch at my foot, because suddenly some itching happens, suddenly some thoughts come, suddenly long back there was a voice, and I happen to recognize that voice. So distractions, full of distractions came to me initially. And I was at particular point of time very, very much, disappointed also, that no, this meditation thing is not for me. But then gradually, my teachers has told me that this is the thing which you need to overcome, and it will come eventually. Yeah, yeah, it's like fishing. It's not for yeah, it's not everyone has patience. True. So,
Yeah, doctor. Yeah,
so
I can hear. Go ahead.
yeah, so
I can attest.
this is this is the thing. Vata person needs to meditate a lot. Number one thing. Another thing is he needs to take rest. He needs to be at calm and composed level. He needs to take rest because he's every time on his foot. So he needs to take rest. Number three thing is Vata person needs to be in a warm environment. It is important because Vata's qualities, as per Ayurveda, are those which are aggravated by cold environment or cold substances. So if you happen to be in a cold environment, there are pretty much chances that your Vata will be aggravated. So it is better to be in a hot environment or warm environment, I would say, warm and cozy environment. It will help you. As far as the diet is concerned, then Ayurveda speaks about consuming ghee and oil. These two things are anti-Vata, I would say. So these two things will help you to relieve your vata. So in our Ayurvedic treatments also, there are certain grave diseases, I would say, like hemiplegia or paraplegia. We in our Gujarati or in Hindi or in Sanskrit, we call it pakshaghat. Pakshaghat means either of your organ, any of your organ is not functioning properly. According to modern science, it is a neurological problem, but according to Ayurveda, it is a pure vata problem. And we happen to treat those diseases by prescribing certain medicated ghee to the patients, and we are getting excellent results. So ghee and oil, both things, these two substances are good for vata. So in a nutshell, these were the vata traits.
So
Now I'm coming to
doctor,
this. Yeah.
okay, sorry to interject. So I understand that everybody has a different constitution type, and based on the personality characteristics, everybody can self-diagnose their dosha that they belong to. So do you know if somebody can have two dominant doshas, or because you mentioned that there's only one usually. So for the other doshas, maybe you can share, do you have a text that people can look at visually in front of them and kind of do a self-check on what most applies to them? Maybe after the talk, we can share something if you have.
So yes, definitely. So what I'll do that I'll put a checklist in a way, and then each and everyone can just fill it up, and then they'll get to know that what constitution they belong to. It is very rare to have a single particular dosha person. It is very rare. 90% of us are of two dominant doshas. So one is the dominant dosha and another is the supportive dosha. As I said for myself that I am a kapha vata person. Initially I said I am a vata kapha. No, I'm not a vata kapha, I am a kapha vata. So it is a kapha vata person. It means that primary dosha of my constitution is kapha, which is supported by vata, right? So this is my constitution. So in my this 10, 11 years of practice, 12 years of practice, I haven't seen even a single person who was having entirely one prakriti or entirely one constitution. So it is next to impossible. But many of us are of the dual, I would say. But
and
yeah,
I would
definitely
also
we'll do that.
add, yeah, that would be great. I would also add that so everybody has to some extent all three of the traits within them, right? So then in that case, would you say that most of us are impatient, most of us are stressed out, most of us have a lot of problems in life, and we need to calm down and relax. So going back to what you were mentioning earlier, meditation is for everyone, right?
True.
Right.
Meditation is for everyone.
So then going to meditation, what kind of meditation do you suggest that people practice? Because I think that's the antidote to all kinds of modern problems that we're facing today. And that's what most of yoga is about. So do you have a particular kind of meditation that you recommend to your patients?
Yes, I do recommend. Actually, what happens that Zil, that in my case, many of the patients who come to me directly, they are coming for the solution as per the Ayurveda way. Obviously, because primarily I am an Ayurveda doctor and they come to me as an Ayurveda patients. So whenever I'm telling them about the meditations, generally, what I initially do is I ask them on a very, very basic level first. Very basic meditation in which they just need to be in a very peaceful and supportive environment in their relaxed position, and they just need to close their eyes with their suitable position. They just need to sit and do meditation. Anything, I mean, do meditation with omkar, or do meditation with whatever deity they are following to. Or if not, if it is not comfortable for them, then they're just observing their breathing. It is the most easiest way. So I think this is the basic thing which I suggest to the people, which I suggest to my patients. and they feel relaxed, they feel calm, they feel composed. The greater meditation parts are something which comes on a later stage, particularly for my patient's sake. So either the Omkara meditation or the breathing meditation. This is
So
the thing.
perfect. Do you have a little meditation or something that maybe we can follow along, or something that you can guide us into?
Definitely we'll do. In the last 5 minutes, I would say that we will do 5 to 10 minutes. We'll do an Omkara meditation that will be live only because it is a Zoom call. If
Oh,
I'll be
perfect.
playing any music, that it will not be, it will not be audible to each and everyone, the music.
Mhm.
So we'll do the live music. How much time do I have? So
Wonderful.
accordingly.
You have about 10 minutes left.
Okay, so quickly, I'll just go through the Pitta and Kapha dosha traits so that just everyone will get to know, and then we'll
Sure.
straight away start with the meditations.
Okay,
Just remind
sounds
me
like a plan.
after 5 minutes, please. Yeah.
All righty,
Yeah.
will do.
So we have seen the Vata dosha. Now I'm coming to the Pitta dosha. Who are Pitta dosha persons? Pitta dosha, as I have said, that it is a heating energy. It is the heat which represents Pitta. So Pitta dosha persons are very, very vibrant. Pitta dosha persons are confident. And they seems overconfident also. Many times they seems overconfident. They are like, maar dalunga, kat dalunga types person. Many of the gangsters are of Pitta dosha, I would say. And Pitta dosha persons love adventure. They are, they are always up for the challenges. And they are very much clear about their vision. They are very much clear about what they want to do, and they are continuously following to their vision. They are approaching it. They are approaching to their dreams very, very aggressively. So Pitta dosha persons are like this. So in a way, if you say that Pitta dosha person are aggressive, Pitta dosha person are very much clear and focused, but they are not calm and composed. They are always in aggression or something. You'll feel that, but that Pitta or that heated energy inside their body, right? And they are sharp. They are intelligent. Pitta dosha persons have that attractive aura also. So many of the actors are of Pitta dosha because they are having that lusting skin tone or lusting aura that you will see. So Pitta dominant persons are that Pitta dosha persons are autocrat in nature. So those who are, like autocrats or emperors or someone who wants to be dominating in their nature, the domination comes from Pitta. Those who are those who thinks themselves as the masters, this is the Pitta dosha trait, right? So these are the Pitta dosha things. On a flip side, if I would say that this nature only deteriorates their condition, domination, aggression, constantly chasing their dreams. Apart from that, they are overconfident. So many times it also happens that they fail, and whenever they fail, they can't take it on a serious or on a very easy to take it manner. So this is also a thing. Another thing is they are very short tempered. Pitta dosha person's temper is very, very difficult to handle, and at times they are very jealous because they want to reach to the target first. How dare that others reach? So this is the jealousy which is inherent in Pitta dosha person, right? So if you are a Pitta dosha person, what you can do? Quickly avoid heat and sunlight, because this is the heat which complements to your Pitta dosha. It will again aggravate. So avoid heat and sunlight. Be in a cool, calm, and very light and quiet environment. Listen to some soft music every day. Take a good cold water bath and shower, and again meditate. So this is the Pitta dosha trait quickly. Now coming to the Kapha dosha. Kapha dosha in our body, Kapha is a phlegm. As per the Greek mythology, it is a phlegm or glue or bondage. It is a coolant. It is a bondage. It is a glue in our body. So Kapha dosha is responsible for building up the blocks of our body, right? Kapha dosha persons are calm and composed. Kapha dosha persons are very much clear about their vision, but their approach, unlike Pitta dosha, is very calm, composed, and steady. Kapha dosha persons. then they are very loving, they are very caring, they are very empathetic. Kapha dosha person is forgiving. If anything wrong happens to them by someone else, they easily forgive. They unnecessarily don't fall into quarrels or some problems or something. They try to avoid those things. They live in their own solitude. Kapha dosha persons are soft spoken. They usually gives respect to each and everyone. They are not autocratic. They work in team, and many times they love to be under someone. They love to be guided by someone. On a flip side, if I would say that Kapha dosha person can be greedy, and Kapha dosha person can also be very possessive. Another thing, if Kapha dosha person, because of their cool, calm, and composed nature, if they don't become active, then easily they can become lethargic and obese. Many of the diseases which are related to cysts, lumps, and tumors are related to Kapha dosha according to Ayurveda. Right? Now, if you are a Kapha dosha, what you can do? Just 1 minute only. Take very light meals and do fasting. If you are a Kapha dosha, do regular exercises and workouts. Sleep less. Kapha dosha persons anyhow happens to sleep more. They love sleeping. So sleep less. Specifically, day sleeping is not allowed. Play mind games, play Sudoku, play puzzles. Avoid cold and comfortable areas. Come out and do some workout. Come out and do some exercises. Start moving, right? So this is the Kapha dosha antidotes, I would say, that will help you to come out of this particular dosha. Now there are medicines. If you are dominant of any of this dosha, and this dosha, if it reaches up to a certain level that it may produce certain diseases in you, then there are medicines which will definitely help you to overcome of your condition. But in a nutshell, these are the traits and these are the antidotes. So you must, by now, at least you must have known yourself through Ayurveda that in which constitution you belong to. We'll start the meditation now, but before we go for the meditation, because just after we'll complete the meditation, I would not speak anything. We'll just conclude the session. So there are two things I want to just discuss with you all. First of all, thank you, Zil, for this wonderful session. I liked it so much. Each and everyone was very, very attentive. I hope so. And it's my pleasure to share my whatsoever knowledge I'm having. And the number two, that as I usually do, that there is a giveaway from my side, that I'll give you one free consultation from my end to each and everyone present over here. So I'll just give you my email address and my cell number, my clinic cell number. Anyone, anytime, if you feel that you need an Ayurveda guidance, Ayurveda treatment, feel free to contact me on my WhatsApp number, or just take an appointment and we'll do a video call. And then I'll give you my free consultation, one consultation, not more, but one free consultation. And that will be a pleasure. So at the end, I'll share my number and my email address. So I think that it's time now. We'll start with the meditation, Zil.
Perfect. Sounds amazing. Thank you again for being here. And we're excited to start the meditation with you. I really appreciate your time.
Yes. So we'll do it for 5 odd minutes. I'll just request each and every one of you to sit in the comfortable position, whatever comfortable position you want to do. Just close your eyes, please. We are in a bit difficult zone right now, and each and everyone is a bit stressed in any manner. So we'll try to reverberate our positive energies through this eternal Omkar chanting. We'll take a deep breath inside Exhale slowly. Inhale slowly. Exhale slowly. We'll all start Omkar chanting together. That will create a universal energy. ॐ सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ शान्तिः 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 Just feel the vibrations gently. Open your eyes, please. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. That was really calming, amazing session. Dr. Kedar Upadhyay, thank you again for your time and for your generosity in offering a free consultation to all our guests and for sharing your wonderful treasure chest of information regarding Ayurveda, yoga, and the holistic way of living. So we will have our audience direct any questions on the chat, or if you can please share your contact information so that they can reach out to you in private.
Yes, just a second. I'm just sharing it. If you can, if you want to write it down, I'm just mentioning
Yeah, I
it,
can
and I'm
type
also-
it up for everyone, or you can type it
Yeah,
up on
so-
the chat box.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm also typing it down. My
Okay,
contact
great.
number is my contact number is +91. That is Indian code 8511 3115. I'm again repeating. It's 8511 3115. This is my contact number, and my email address is drkedar.atharva atharva@gmail.com. Just typing it right now. Just a second.
Okay, I just sent it. If you can double check if everything is correct.
You sent it. I'm just typing it right now. No issues.
Okay,
Just a second.
perfect.
So this is the email address. I hope you have got it. And this is the contact number 8511 3115.
Great. All right. Thank you so much, Doctor, for your time. And for our participants, stay tuned. Take a quick break. We'll be back in 5 minutes. See you soon.
Thank you so much. And